Yeah, we're gonna get right into it. Producer, let us know when to go so that we can cook. Welcome to the Playground Chat, guys. Yes, we're back again with a special edition episode, guest edition. Today, episode 28. My name is Chuma. I'm with my brother here.
I go by the name of Chinga Time.
Yeah, man.
Welcome to the Playground Chat,
the best sports cast in the land. We here. We're not stopping. Hey, man. What I've been seeing, thank you guys for liking. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for subscribing. We appreciate the support. We are growing exponentially because of y'all. Soon enough, we will bring Ama 28 and Ama 27 on the show. I heard y'all wanted some niggas.
Come, what the hell are you talking about, bro?
But
Not my show.
Take it away for us. Let us know who we're sitting with today. What's happening?
It's another one. It's a special guest edition.
Yes, sir.
I'm with two of my brothers. They'll introduce themselves better. But yeah, I'm with Chico and Kelvin, our Brazilian brothers.
Hey.
Our BBs.
Else.
Brazil. Pause.
Okay, relax.
Pause.
Yo, baby,
Pause.
I love you.
Pause. But yeah, look, that's what I know them as. But I want them to introduce themselves as they government names, not fully. There's a reason why. Just to give that South Africans that feel of a Brazilian. Why there's a nickname? Because the name is a sentence.
3, 4.
It's a sentence. So Chico, let's go first.
Okay, if I have to say my full name, you guys gonna cry. That's already a start.
Podcast is 3 hours long.
So my name is Wellisson Jr.
Okay.
I have more after that, but let's skip. And my nickname is Chico. Okay.
And I'm Kelvin. Surname is Rodriguez. And
Quite a common.
Some of my friends here call me Calvino.
Calvino.
Cal.
Everything.
Yeah, we're with the brothers today, Chico and Kelvin. Thank you so much, guys, for coming through the show. Yeah, man. If you've been tuned in, you know what we add. We just talking about sports, And since we on that topic, I know that you guys do play indoor football. You guys do coach some 5 team. So I just wanted to get a little bit from your side, like in terms of Chico, in difference in terms of maybe quality or setups and the different types of players compared to South Africa and Brazil.
Just make it broad. Don't make it 5-a-side in general. You do also coach in general.
Yes.
In general, what is the difference?
I think for me, coming from Brazil, if I have to compare Brazil and South Africa or Africa, let's say, I must say you guys born with a good speed and a quality strength. So this is already in the gene. So for us is something similar to that, but we go more on the technical aspect, where you're gonna have a good ball control, you're gonna have a good vision, a good thinking inside of the field, and this is something that you guys. I'm saying you guys. I'm putting the whole. I'm putting the whole South Africa in it. You can see that the football is growing everywhere. I'm not just talking Brazil, about everywhere. If I have to say technical aspect here, it's growing so much. Like yesterday, funny enough, I went to watch some kids play and I could see some good talents, like under 7s, 8, 9, already playing in a high quality. Of course, you have the kids that are still learning, but you have kids that are already like thinking in a professional mindset, let's say. And this is like making me happy because coming from Brazil, we already have that since young, where you're gonna ask a 4, 5 years old, what do you want to be? He's gonna tell you, I want to become a professional soccer player. And here you don't have this much, I don't know, maybe rugby, maybe cricket, maybe
it's quite broad.
There's a lot of sport that you guys have here that you can cover that. In Brazil, it's just football, mainly football. That's what you're looking for, you know. So I think related comparing like South Africa and Brazil, that's how I think, that's how I see it. But
Talent.
it's coming, it's close. It's very close. I'm telling you.
Calvin, I'm gonna this one for you. So, as I remember, you guys do early development, and with the early development is where maybe the differences are not going to be as seen because the kids are coming to you guys from age 5. But when you look at maybe when you watch a Bay Hill or an Engine, and you look at that age group, the age group that's supposed to be going into our professional ranks, but seeing maybe, I'm being frank, seeing how behind some of the situations are. I coach in those levels. I've had a team qualify, go to the Engine, and I had players on my team who were playing on the Engine who, that, like you say, the technical aspect, the speed, the strength is up there, but the technical aspect of making a decision early, controlling the ball in the right way to then do the next pass, and things like that. And how do we bridge this gap?
All right, let me maybe take one step back. Let me just speak quickly on what we do. We specialize in skill development. We have a football program that it's all about teaching as early as possible the fundamentals, the core fundamentals of football. And like you said, we start with the age of 5 all the way up, going towards your question. And because we've been doing this, especially the core, the specialized training that goes back to the core of the principles of the game at the earliest age, for years after years. For me, it's more than 10 years now. I understand very deeply what makes a player from being casual, that likes the sport, that level of skill. Obviously, people that are a little bit more committed and willing to have the desire of taking other steps as developing to as more as an athlete, and obviously start migrating to the elite and high performance group, which is like right there, right on top of the majority of when you talk about football enthusiasts. We in that process for cycles after cycles, years after years, and we know that very well, that football, now jumping a little bit more to your question, it requires a lot more than just have the natural gift, have the passion and desire of being a footballer. There's a lot of work, there's a lot of physical, mental, technical preparation goes around. If I'm gonna try to give you another perspective now, trying to answer your question as fast as possible. I recently just had a trip to the US. I was in Dallas with a team from South Africa, under 15 team. Biggest difference that you talk about the Engine, you're talking about Bay Hill, Bayview, that age group there, compare South Africa to Brazil to the US, it's directly related to like everywhere. They all have skills. They all know how to control the ball at that age group. You compare Stellenbosch to any team around this area in South Africa, the kids at that age, they know how to control a ball mostly. Now, how fast and how quickly you can take a first, second, and third action. That's the difference that I see from the football in Brazil. They're able to do that in a lot faster and quicker way, in a more intense environment. The intensity is a lot higher, and especially in the US as well. So trying to answer you, I think just to give a bit of context, I think that's the thing I see that is the biggest difference. It's not really the technical in some ways at certain level. If you talking about the elite clubs and academies, that's where the big division is. And
Intensity.
Intensity, quickness, being able to take first, second, third action faster, quicker, knowing when to do the one touch or two touches and move from there. I think just trying to give a bit of perspective, like from my background and understanding the foundational principles of the game, that's where I see the biggest difference between the local Brazil and the global level.
I also think, like in Brazil specifically, I wouldn't say like I'd say there's a lot more football-related sports than other sports.
Yeah.
Like I'd say you guys do indoor, you go
Yeah.
to fives, there's sevens,
up.
there's this, there's
Yeah.
beach soccer, there's
Yeah.
it's like football.
Mm.
So if everyone is trying to, I mean, you ask, it's like when I saw a picture of Gabriel Jesus in Brazil in the streets painting. I think it was during the World Cup.
Yeah, that's
when he
right.
told his story, like, yo, he really wants to make it. It's like a dream for them. Like, I want to play football and make it as a player. You see?
Fight for that.
So I'm also taken back to a big question.
Yeah.
Since you guys have been here now, in terms of the contrast between the PSL and the Brazilian league, is there much of a difference in terms of quality, in terms of just in general?
Come on, bro. Put the mic close.
Okay, sure.
Yeah, that's a question that we need to think before we answer.
No, go
You
for
know?
it.
No,
Okay, I
you're
get you. Working in this space.
because
You're
yeah,
working in this
because
space.
because yeah, we
Yeah, you
work
working
we
in
work
this
in this
space, I get
area.
you.
Yeah, we have,
Oh, I see.
but
I see.
okay, I think let's say the PSL level here. I'm not saying that it's weak. I'm not comparing to say this side is stronger, this side is weak. But I can definitely tell you, like, if you go to amateur clubs there, you can put them face to face with PSL clubs. Yeah, 100%. I'm telling you, and I think Kelvin is gonna agree with that. Like, you can find some really good amateur clubs there with very good setup, with very good players. Even ex players, they when they stop playing,
They go back
They
Go
go
back
back.
to
They
their
go back to those
to the,
clubs.
the
Yeah,
home club. Yeah.
yeah, to the home clubs where they start playing. So, but of course the level here is growing a lot. You can see, like I said, football is growing everywhere. Everyone is studying to learn about football. It's not just like throw a ball there and then run like before. Before it was just like throw a ball and then we run
Yeah.
and then we do what you can. Now you have everything to make your speed better, to make your strength better, your ball control better. You have everything to work around that. But I would say, of course, it's growing, like I said. But I think on that side, the amateur third, second division can come this side, yeah,
And
give a-
compete.
and compete like face to face. I'm telling you.
Get your facts straight.
Do you know why I've
Get
been
you
saying
right.
this? No, you're not being controversial.
Yeah.
I've been saying
Yeah.
this. No, when I watch Magesi play Golden Arrows, I know I'm in to watch helicopter. You know. Yeah, I'm there to watch helicopter. The whole match. The whole match.
Amateur, I'm telling you, amateur club would never do that.
Short guys kicking the ball in the air to each other. You know what I
Listen,
mean?
If you do that, they will take you
And
out.
these
like,
and the coaches are supposed to be qualified coaches. And I always say, where's the periodization there? How are you outlining your training sessions if you have technical players and you're kicking the ball in the air? What is the end goal there? How are we doing this thing? It doesn't make sense.
you guys probably watch the Brazil football, and you can see like for them to give like a long kick, it's because things are getting
Tough. Yeah.
Oh, like you winning end of the game, you need to put that ball
Just
away.
put the
So
ball in
you
the
put it in,
other position's
yeah.
half,
So
yeah.
you're kicking away. So but
I want you to go on to my question, Calvin. I'm speaking about periodization is important, especially for young coaches there, to make sure that all of your sessions, are aligned with the way that you guys want to play and what you have. I feel like in the PSL, coaches negate what they have and they play whatever they need in order to survive or whatever. And it's crazy how you do a bad job at Cape Town City, but you're going to do a good enough job at Sekhukhune. How are you doing a bad job at this club in the same league, and then you're going to do all of a sudden now, we forgot that you kicked the ball in the air here.
yeah,
You're gonna all of a sudden play better
you
here.
can't pass.
There's no pathway.
Yeah.
For young coaches, there's no pathway. For young players, there's no pathway, I feel. How do we fix that, Calvin? How do we make sure that there's a pathway?
Wow, you're talking about the pathway. If you speak about that specifically, then it involves a lot more than just 22 players that are good players that are playing under a specific coach, under a specific badge. If you talk about pathway, it goes back to the foundation, which is right. You have to go so many steps down. It goes back to the projects? What is the ideas of how we can improve the sport, not just a specific team? If you're talking about pathway, it involves about what we're doing here, talking about the game, bringing insightful ideas and principles that can help creating the pathway. You go back to what we do for, at the moment, our main roles are, which is developing youth. If you're talking about pathway, you have to take all these steps, because without having the right foundational technical elements being implemented at early age, it's harder to develop the physical, the technical, the mental, the psychological, all these other things that also involves cultural elements. And if you talk about pathway, it's a lot harder to say, okay, compare a PSL team to an amateur team or a second division team in Brazil. I like you said, I do believe a lot of maybe
clubs.
some
In terms of playing,
in the sense of the technical, the tactical. It's also very different to say put these two teams to play a season of 22 matches, right? Then it requires a lot more than just having technical ability. You need to have an infrastructure behind, because again, the preparation, the physical, the setup, all these things plays a role. Maybe the South Africa team might do better in the longer term, but put these guys head to head in a match for 90 minutes. I say many teams that could be comparable to what we say the Premier Division here. In that sense. But again, I guess it's a little bit like that everywhere in the world. You're gonna go in some countries that players, that squad of players, they really competent, they really technically gifted. They play well together and they could compete against strong teams. I take back to in Brazil, what is it? Clubs World Cup.
Club World Cup.
Manchester City was in the best. One of the best season. They won the Champions League that year. They won everything. They played against Fluminense. If you put in proportion, squad,
that's my guy. I'm heavily.
What I mean is, you put in depth of squad, in depth of infrastructure. Manchester City is years ahead of Fluminense squad in the sense of infrastructure, in the sense of the individual players in that squad. You had Haaland, which is worth the entire squad alone. You know, and then you got Grealish, De Bruyne, all these global players, which you have a team with players from the best of all the countries together against a Fluminense. I'm not saying Fluminense is a small club, but I'm saying in that game, as much as Fluminense lost, the technical differences
wasn't that high.
Fluminense made good actions, good football, and that's what I could. That's what I mean if you're trying to compare Brazil League, second, third. In South Africa, Premier Division players are getting well paid, well infrastructure. Take a Sundowns, for example. It's amazing what they've been doing as a football institution. It's hard, but it is also possible. Like in many ways, you take clubs with a lot less that could also compete in a very high level in the football here. That's the perspective I can bring in the sense.
It's interesting, because I keep saying to people that Sundowns are playing alone, right? Pirates, yes, they try. Chiefs have stopped trying for a long time. I think in terms of what I feel like in South Africa, we don't have what you're speaking about, the football institutions. Right? I was speaking about it earlier. I thought Super Sport United was a football institution because they've developed World Cup players, players that have played in all over Europe. This is a club that I thought, that has a school affiliated with them.
Yes.
It's a club that you think you're taking I have a kid I have a kid who I took 2 years ago to Super Sport because they have a school, and now his whole life needs to change because the club sold their status. The status selling thing in South Africa, I think, is the biggest difference. What I'm hearing is the Sao Paulo will always be there. It might be owned by different people, but it will always be in Sao Paulo. It will always be that institution. In South Africa, Sundowns is the only clubs, or Pirates, the only clubs that are Chiefs who are actual institutions. everyone else in the league can be interchanged.
Mm.
You can wake up tomorrow and the club is now based in Bloemfontein, and you have to take your whole life away. For a professional league that pays so much, it just structurally doesn't make sense. What's the point of having an under 5?
Yeah.
What's the point? If I have an under 5 at this club and the club sells its status,
Done.
now these kids, they no longer have a professional club in the area. The professional club has moved to a whole new city, and there's no repercussions for it. For a sport that is so loved in this country, the people who are running it, I keep saying, they're running it selfishly.
Mm.
There's enough money to go around. Why you gotta steal the money meant for the kids?
Mm.
Yeah,
I know it's a touchy
it is
subject,
it's a tough
but it's
subject.
crazy that we can see speaking about these things the past 5 weeks, 6 weeks, telling them, I can't wait to have people from another country who will tell you, look, these things can be changed. You guys have the ability to change them, but A, B, and C, how can we develop from an amateur club, right? I have boys. I have a boy that I took to London's cousin.
Yeah.
We took him to Spurs.
Yeah.
Last year. You get me? And now what happened to Spurs has happened to Spurs.
Yeah.
Now, our Spurs now, yes, development-wise, we know they're a great academy,
Yeah.
but the pathway is now no longer there. They've been relegated to an amateur division.
Yeah.
So, it feels like every time they have a good structure, but when it gets to maintaining or sustaining it, we get tired and we sell it.
That's a tough one. I think, of course, problems in a club, in a setup, everyone have. You know what I mean? If you look at PSL level, problems. If you go to any club around the world, they do
is some
have
problems,
problems. I think it's just like, how do you solve those problems? You know what I mean? If you know that the club is not doing well, you need to make plans. You need to put actions there, right? And let's say you don't have money to buy brilliant players or different players. Give chance to the talents that are around here. You do have, you know what I mean? Like, let's say, of course, there was giving chance to youngsters from the foundation there, the 17 years old. I forgot his name. Yeah, so
Sandra Campbell.
yeah. But of course, we do have more players around on community clubs that can play the same intense as that boy. You know what I mean? That's already a sign that you can do there, that you can make your team better, that you can put them to compete with bigger clubs. Yeah, but I think the vision here, it's very close. Why do I say that? Like you say, you have your boy there playing for the under 5s or under 6. Now that team see that your boy is really good. What you as a club needs to do, sell it. Send that player for a better club. Put him in a better setup. I'm not saying that my setup is not good, but it's always going to be a better setup than mine. You know what I mean? And I think the vision here, it's like, you're 5 years old, he's really good. I will keep that 5 years old till he turn 18.
Oh, okay, I get you.
Okay, now I'm there, like you're saying. Now, Cape Town Spurs, they are mature again. You know what I mean? Now, you had your boy the whole life there training for that club. Where that boy's going to go now? He's mature again. He lost a chance to develop his football in a different club where he can just step. And that's the vision that the coaches have here. I'm a player. We are a player. We play for clubs. You're good. I want you for my club. I don't want you to go out. But me as a player, I need to have a better opportunity in a different setup. I think that's already solved the whole problem that you're saying. You know what I mean? Leave the boy go. Leave the talent go. It's yours. Put your name there, okay? This boy is playing for PSG, but he started with Cape Town Spurs. He started with this soccer academy. He started with these people here. But you give them a chance. You give a chance, yeah. And I think, yeah, you want to keep the boy with you.
Oh,
Yeah, that's the truth.
wait. I want to have a question
That's
for
true, dog.
Kelvin. Huh?
That's true.
What?
What he's saying is the
E?
most true thing. It's especially in Cape Town.
Yeah.
You have a good boy. The boy is 10 times better than anyone else at the club, and you still want to keep him there.
No.
Why?
Send him
He's
to a
10
different
times
club.
better than these guys. Okay, my boy, look, I'm giving you to this guy because they're in a better set. You're gonna play with people on your level.
Yep.
These guys on my club, they're not. I'm happy that I found a gem like you. I'm proud of what I've done. Go there and develop.
Is that?
That's exactly what you.
I wanted to ask Kelvin about that specific situation, whereas you know that Sundowns have acquired a player called Ribeiro. So a lot of South Africans are like, okay, cool. Is it because Ribeiro wasn't playing at a high enough level in Brazil? Is that why he took the budget and was like, let me take the cut and move and play for Sundowns, which is already number one?
Before you answer, Calvin, go for it. Yeah.
What?
No. I just wanna. He didn't come from Brazil. I don't want people to have that notion.
Sergio Luthando Ribeiro is not
He's
Brazilian.
Brazilian.
He
Yeah?
wasn't
But he
playing
didn't
in
come from
Brazil.
Brazil. He
Okay.
came from Belgium.
Yeah.
So I want
Okay.
people to. We need to clarify that
Okay.
to see where Flemmenberg is looking for players.
Okay.
You South American, you can like the climate in South Africa, but you need to be able to play European style.
Okay.
Yeah.
No,
it needs to be
I'm
that way.
asking based on the fact that he is Brazilian, right? Was he not good enough in Brazil to make it out like your Hendricks and your Rafinhas, and there's a lot of players that we know, right? Or was it a good paycheck for him to like, it's Sundowns, we're number one. You don't have to answer that one, but in general, like, what's your perspective on a Brazilian player leaving, not without mentioning the Belgium phase, and just coming to play in the PSL?
I think it's a football thing. We must understand, like, I divide it in mainly two aspects. You have the institution, the clubs or the league, that it's appealing to players. It's like I said, a certain league it's more appealing to a certain player than the club itself.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if he's the weakest team in the UK.
You're gonna go to Everton.
You want to go there because
Okay.
the league is appealing. Or maybe you're going to maybe South Africa, which you compare to the English football, it's a lower league, but you come into the number one.
Yeah.
So a player, like I said, there is the institution perspective and always the player's perspective. As a player, you need to consider what benefits
He's cooking.
He's cooking, dog. And in another way, he's cooking insights. If you're listening to this podcast today, this is a different way of thinking, Calvin. It's not thinking in a way like us.
Yeah.
The face. You're looking at it in the ways that I hoped somebody would explain. I'm sorry to cut you off. Continue, please. I'm so happy. I'm so happy.
But again, I'm just bringing some of the way I understand and obviously how it is. The institution football always gonna look at elements that benefits them. If he's a competitive player, if he's a player that brings market to the league, and they consider all these things because they need to protect the institution. A player is also an institution because you got people around them and
Agents.
process of development and jumping from League One to League to Spain to the La Liga. All these changes in the process, it's relevant to the player. Now, what was Ribeiro's process, his team, his group of people around him, decision making of maybe I honestly don't know how
Maybe
was
Sundowns
him.
pathway is better.
Yeah, I don't know how well he was doing
in Brazil.
No,
Or in Belgium.
Belgium.
For them to come together and say, okay, for what our objective as a player, and his priorities is different sometimes of what the club's priorities are. Maybe it's a better route to go
Yes,
South Africa.
It's better route to
And-
go to South Africa, maybe.
Yeah, but and also it goes back to
Maybe.
but to be
Let's
very
try it out.
It's South Africa, dog. I have so skeptical because of I'm in it. I'm there every day. So I'm a little bit like,
but to be very honest, I think in that sense have paid out for him.
Yes, it
Yeah,
is.
very nicely.
He's the number
best
one
player.
player
Yes.
in the number one team in the
league.
country, and they've been doing well on the
I hope they play
African.
today.
Yeah, they're playing on Sunday.
Yeah,
Sunday, yeah.
they've been
Sunday's a
doing
bad
well on
day.
the-
It's a bad day.
They've been doing very well also in the international tournaments.
Yes.
So I think for that paid off to him. So
Do you
to
think
that,
do you think the Club World Cup also played a factor knowing that Sundowns is gonna go?
Probably.
Knowing
Imagine
Sundowns, yeah.
now put
Vision.
yourself
It's
on his
vision.
shoes.
It's vision.
Put
It's vision.
Put yourself in his shoe.
Yeah.
If you have all this potential, or maybe playing for a second division in Belgium,
You know that
You're
you don't
not
have
going.
that.
The
You won't
more
have
play
that.
for
Yeah,
you
won't.
here makes a
you
lot
won't.
more sense.
You're right.
But it
The
it goes
vision for
back-
him is
yeah.
gonna be way more.
But
Yeah,
football is a lot about. It's not an exact size.
Size.
It's a lot about circumstance. A lot about your moment. It could also be. He could have been the best player in there,
Yeah.
but not work here.
Yes. Yes.
It's
Yeah,
a
it could
lot
be.
about stuff you can't control. There's the stuff you can control. There's the things you can't control.
Yeah.
And you're always exposed to both. In football,
Yeah,
that's how
yeah.
it is.
Can I pose a question to
Sure.
you? Ribeiro wins the AFCON, the CAF Champions League. Goes to the semis of the Club World Cup. South Africa, Brazil. Well, Brazil has already called up their players. South Africa, Ribeiro. Here's a change. Yeah.
He will sign.
We bringing you on board
He will
to
sign.
come play
Yeah, he will, he will.
Bafana.
No sign.
You spoke about decision making and the people around you to further your
Your aspect, your career
yourself,
aspect, yeah.
your bands.
Yeah.
Your shit, you know? What do you do in that situation?
So you're basically asking if he
signs-
does well out there, the
Yeah, yeah.
Does he
Bafana
play
will
for
try
Bafana?
to
You think
give
goes-
him
yeah.
double nationality so he's eligible
Yeah,
to
yeah.
play for the Bafana.
I think they should have done it for Allende, but apparently Allende did play for Chile in international before.
Yeah.
I think there is a certain amount of matches and depends if I don't know exactly what are the criteria when it comes to being
'Cause
eligible
Diego-
or uneligible
Diego
based on
Costa
double
played for Spain and
nationality.
Brazil.
I think I don't know if you have one official match for the first team.
You can't remember.
I
You're
don't
not
know.
sure. Okay.
So when it comes to him, it goes back to obviously we're speculating here. I think it would make sense. Be honest.
Yeah,
to
me
be
too. The
honest,
style of
I
play
don't
fits
think
perfectly.
for the Brazil market
Yes.
perspective, the football level perspective, I don't think he would be called for the national team in Brazil.
He's already 26.
I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah, it's already
It's a
26.
maybe. But
Also the level. If you look at the players playing in right wing, we spoke about Estevao.
Yeah, it's seven.
yes.
How you gonna put a 26-year-old who's never played for Brazil in front? The pathway we were speaking of. Brazil is clear most of the time.
Yes.
I'm gonna say most of the time because I don't know where Fred came from back in the day. Fred, we need to talk about Fred. We're gonna talk about Fred. How the country with the best footballers gave us Fred for 2 World Cups.
Bro,
They gave us Fred for 2 World Cups.
bro.
Yeah, that was embarrassing.
Just to clarify, you talking about the midfielder or you talking about the striker?
No.
Oh. 'Cause I think you're thinking of the midfielder.
Yeah.
Both of them.
No.
Take
You
both
talk
of
about
them.
the striker.
The
Yeah,
Fred
he's
was
talking about the
Yeah,
striker. He
the-
worked hard.
Yeah, I know
Fred
that
the midfielder worked hard. Fred the striker. Wow. And it was in Brazil when you had that guy as your striker.
Wow.
That was
In Brazil,
Oh,
7-1.
Fred the
in
striker.
Brazil, we
Anyway,
call
let's go,
him-
okay.
In Brazil, we call him the corn.
the striker.
The corn, just like a corn there inside the.
It's a
soccer.
code.
I've got.
But how did you guys in Brazil? Do you know what? When every time I make fun of Brazilians, it's easiest low hanging fruit. 7-1.
Brother, we
don't talk about-
Mike on you. though.
Chill,
See,
chill.
the views are leaving
Sad
the
day.
group now. Yeah,
Nah,
they're
nah,
leaving.
chill,
They're
chill.
leaving.
The Brazilians are
They're
leaving the
leaving.
chat.
Yeah, they're leaving the chat. Yeah.
Nah, don't talk
That was a
about
funny
it.
Views
one,
are going
it was a
down
funny
after
one.
this that
It
comment.
was like, huh?
Nah,
Anyway.
every time you
Still
play, it
got-
was a goal.
Yes.
I would like him if that
In
something
Bafana.
comes. I would love to
Yeah,
see
that's
that.
a beautiful
Me too.
football.
I
It
would love
would
to
it
see
would
that. I
work.
think it would benefit
Yeah, it would work.
both
Both of them.
Both sides.
Because
Both
Bafana doesn't have a player like
Both
that.
institutions.
Yeah, Bafana doesn't have a player. Shishi's gonna retire soon, right? Doesn't have and Shishi for Bafana. Yes, he started now, then he's older, but he's never really carried Bafana. You know, Percy did it a bit. I think Mufukeng is what we're trying to build into that, but I think physically, so to get
Yeah.
into my next point,
Yeah.
physically with Mufukeng, he's already 20, right? Do you think physically he has what it takes to make it in Europe? Yes, technically, it's undeniable. But physically, do you think maybe he has to go to I don't want to say a lesser league to disrespect the Belgians, but you want to play for Belgium, you know, go to a gang, dominate, have possession, you know, and then when Percy also, when he went to the Premier League and we want the legs all the time, he sort of struggled with that. You know, I feel like
Yeah.
maybe we can touch more on that, Chico.
I think, to be honest with you, I'm not a person that is like following South Africa football from point A to point B. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I do watch. I do check around what's happening. Of course, because we work with football, we have to be into what's happening around football. But this also depends on the player. Like the same thing, the same example that we gave about Ribeiro. Yeah, you go about the player. If you say that the player wants to grow, wants to be better for himself also, he will push himself. You know what I mean? You can put him on any league, he's going to look at in a different way, like, okay, I think I need to become better on this for me to get from this point to the second point. He's going to push himself. He have everything, like you said. So, of course, on the other side there, the speed go more, the strengths go more, the thinking needs to be a little bit
Quicker.
faster. You work for that. You know what
You
I
have
mean?
to
So,
work for it, yeah.
it's all about like that. You can be good anywhere. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
anyway,
you
as
just
long
need
as you
to
work for it.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
Can I add to that?
Yeah.
Of course.
It's very rare to find a player, obviously like Ronaldo, that can manage all sorts of leagues and be himself and obviously adapt fast enough because he got so many elements on his side. He got obviously the
Strength,
physical training,
speed.
all this experience and the technical ability, all that sort of stuff. So it's not a doubt that certain places, leagues, suit certain types of players. So like it depends a lot, like you said, it depends
Do you
on
think the South Americans,
specifically.
speaking about it, do you think
Yeah.
Brazilians are suited? I think they are. If you take a Brazilian Premier League player and put him in Sundowns, he's eating every day, every week.
That
That's his style.
that I'm
Style.
very yeah, I would say that
But
comfortably.
I would say also, if you
Even for
have,
second division side.
yeah,
I've watched there's a Chelsea boy coming from a second division side. He plays a left back. The names are similar sometimes in the Brazilian clubs. I thought is Cruzeiro playing in the second division now?
First, they back
first
on
division,
first.
they back.
Is Ronaldo they back? They played Cruzeiro last year. He plays for
I
Cruzeiro.
think 3 years
I'm
ago.
right. I'm right. 3 years. I'm
Yeah.
right. At least I'm going.
You
to
know your global football data.
I'm a coach. I need to know. I need to know. I need to show the boys.
It's update.
Yeah, I need to show the boys. Look at this boys your age.
Yeah.
Look at this boys your age.
I stopped doing that because, yeah.
No, but I
I
need,
stopped
you know what?
comparing South
You know,
African
I'm not
player with
comparing. I'm not
Brazil.
comparing them. I'm comparing them in work rate. If you're coming
Even
twice
though-
to training, and this boy is your age and he's made it, that's what I'm going. I'm going at. You're not even training enough as him, and he's better than you.
But it's
How are
different.
you gonna reach that level?
Chico's very strong about the mentality.
Yeah.
Just go on the
for it.
mentality.
Go on.
I think on that,
Yeah.
let's say, if you compare, I'm going to put a 9 years old. Let's start with 9 years old. A 9 years old from Brazil and a 9 years old from South Africa, right? A 9 years old from Brazil is going to wake up, street, play soccer. Come back, shower, school. When you get at school, you would do his whatever you need to do at school.
Sometimes
Sometimes play soccer at school, right? You come back home, school, soccer
no, you're
again.
back with your friends.
They play
What do you
soccer
do?
also.
And while you're walking home, you're kicking rocks, you're kicking bottles, you're kicking. So you're still playing. So I think our hours touching the ball, it's way more. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? So now, you saying a Brazilian, let's say a young kid, a 9 years old, probably plays soccer about 4 to 6 hours a day. Yeah, you're gonna say 2 hours. You go to the club, you train 1 hour.
Session.
At school, you do probably like 40 minutes, 30 minutes, not more than that. You know, so it's already like a step behind. One more thing is like, if you are 9 years old or 10 years old, you are good enough. Go straight to the under 12. Go straight to the under
Oh,
14.
you get
You're
put.
gonna struggle
Don't
there.
win here.
Yeah, you're gonna
But
struggle
don't win
there.
here
Yeah,
easy.
you're gonna struggle there. But do your thing. You need to figure out a way to get out of that situation there. That's what they do there.
Wow.
I think that's why we do.
Struggling.
That's why we do build a lot of young talent there in Brazil because of that. We expose them
To-
very young. Yes.
The earlier the better.
Yes. In a certain way, it's wrong. Yes, because you are taking a little bit of the joy of that boy. But what I say is like I have a 9 years old in our soccer academy there. He's playing for Botasa now. We call him Pitbull. the boy slide anyone. If you put his mother inside there, he would slide his
Exactly.
own mother. Yeah, I'm telling you.
The pit bull.
The boy, we call him Pitbull.
Casamero.
We call him
Sort
Pitbull.
of, yeah.
So he's 9 years old. He's playing for Watersa right now. But of course, the under 12 coach already saw him and want him to play for the under
Under
12.
12s.
What I told his father is allowed him to play 10 to 15 minutes every game that the coach needs him. It's not the full game. It's not the full half. Why? Because if you see a 9 years old, he starts struggling there, you would take his confidence down a little bit.
Yes, yes.
But if you put him that 9,
15
10 minutes where he's gonna go there, he give his full power and then he come out, he's happy. You still have that boy in the full talent.
Listen,
what I
Yeah,
mean?
you guys,
listen, they
you're giving us
cookie.
gems, eh?
They
So,
cooking.
Yeah, it's that's how you form players. You know,
Yeah.
you put them there, you take them. Now he's playing for the under 9 in that tournament. You
It's
have to
easy.
see that player playing there. You
Yeah,
get that boy
it's
goal.
Goal.
Yeah, it's one.
Players come try push
Ah,
the
get off
player
me.
because he's already
used to
training.
it.
Yeah, and Chris is a guy that do that all the time.
Yeah, always. I know him, yeah.
It's under 14, under 16 training. He invite like 2, 3, 4 players,
Under
9,
12.
10 to play with those boys. And when he come and he show, check what the 9 years old is doing in the
guys.
middle of you guys, yeah. Like players controlling with back foot and pause, checking before you receiving the ball, like stuff that like
Small things.
yeah. But things that a big
16
player like
don't
a
do it.
PSL player is not
They
doing,
don't
like
do it.
checking
Ah, they
behind,
don't
you
do
know
it.
what I mean? So yeah, I think we are doing the right stuff with the kids.
Thank you, guys. I think we are. Yeah, I think there's a lot of good that is coming with what you guys are doing.
Yeah.
We do appreciate that because I mean, we do sometimes need like that extra eye. You know, someone who's gonna look at football not just as a oh yeah, just to make a quick buck, but to look at the fundamentals. You know, break it down. Like what's good for the player, what makes sense. I think that's where the channels are different in South Africa. Is that most of it, because of how our system has been run for so many years, is built off corruption, right? So I think it's just then just hit the back into other people, you know, and it's just been a constant thing. So we appreciate having you guys and having people thinking like that and having people to think actually about the player, you know. It's always it's always great to have that. But I wanted to get to another point, a last point in just Brazilian football, because this is the very important one. This is your national call up. You saw the lineup. A lot of players have been called up, and Hendrik has been left out. Apparently, Hendrik said Pele was his favorite player.
Carlo.
Yes.
Carlo is funny, eh? You know, I know he's a comedian.
What?
You know what they say?
Every year of the team.
Hey, there you go.
So what they say?
Apparently, Hendrik wasn't called for the national team
Because he
because
didn't
wasn't
play.
playing for his.
As a coach, eh?
For
You
his
know how I
club.
know you don't like a player? That's how you know. That's how I tell a player. These niggas will ask me, why aren't you playing that guy? And I'll abstract excuse, you know? I'll say, you know, the sun is not good on his face. Any excuse.
Yeah.
Carlos like, he didn't play enough for his club.
Casemiro
But
is
I'm
called.
the club coach.
Yep, you're the one.
You called back Casemiro at that age.
Yes, no. But he did say he would do it. He said when
Yeah.
he comes back, he needs the leaders. Like I was saying, remember what I was saying to you? This is what I'm saying. Carlo is a coach
Yep.
for the 90s, early 2000s,
Yeah.
where you have 15 leaders, 11 leaders in the team who can solve the problems on the pitch themselves. Our kids, we are coaching them so much that when they get to a Don Carlo, and they look for him for guidance and he has nothing. I think Davide, his son, is now more of the coach, to the point where Carlo can't go anywhere without Davide. At this present, I'm looking at it in a deeper structure, like looking at your background stuff. If it's not Davide, it's gonna get Paul Clement.
Yeah.
I know what he's getting, people who are gonna really coach. He wants to manage. The time for managers is over. We have head coaches now. This is where we're at in football. Why don't you give Denise the chance? I know the European teams don't want to give Denise the chance, but when has European teams give Brazilian coaches the chance? It's never been the case. Bielsa's different in Argentina because he taught everyone the methodology. the whole point of having a football methodology, I think people don't know how important Bielsa is in terms of just that. But I don't think if he didn't do that, I think if he was just a South American coach, he would never have got the opportunity to coach in Europe. I think if he was just without being Bielsa, creating the structure.
I think on that,
Yeah.
on that, he can do really good there. He can do well there.
This is Carlo.
Yeah. Okay. I can't take that out. He's a very good coach. He's a brilliant coach. Everyone, you can see what he's doing.
What he's done,
there,
yeah.
But I would prefer to put a Brazilian blood
Brazilians
to
and
coach.
Brazilians.
You know what I mean?
There we go.
Also, one more thing is like you say, there's a lot of corruption, but it's everywhere.
Yeah.
You also
Yes.
have on that side. You know what I mean? Because if people are really like watching the Brazilian football, it's a lot of players that are really like on top playing there in Brazil that I think that usually have a chance to play for the nationals and they're not even called up. You know
Because
what
you
I
have to
mean?
play in Europe.
But
Politics.
no.
No, but the politics you're talking about.
Yeah, that's the corruption that we're talking about. It's not politics, it's corruption. If you're really watching, you will see. Like, I would say Hulk. Hulk is on top there playing for Atlético Mineiro now, scoring, passing.
You don't even Mineiro.
Yeah, he's doing so much there
I love the kid.
for the club.
Man.
He didn't got called up.
Mm.
Richarlison is there.
Yo,
Right now,
let's go there.
Right now, between Richarlison
Two
and
Brazilian
Hulk,
guys. Richarlison-
Richarlison is not Brazilian.
Richarlison's not Brazilian. Right? Now we want to say.
Nah.
We've been wanting to ask this.
No,
He's lying.
no, something happened.
Do you know he reminds
He
me of?
learned Portuguese when he was younger.
I think he's Argentinian.
Yes, man.
Do you know why I say he's Argentinian? Argentinians are gonna hate me. But you know why I say so? In Argentina, they have stiff players who can play.
Yeah.
It's not a Brazilian thing to have that. Some of all the stiff players in Brazil, I know them off by heart. Wesley,
Yeah.
I know all the Fred.
Yeah.
Because you stand out like a sore thumb. I know. I watch football so much that I need to know. Oh, this guy's a block. Now we're talking about Argentinians, right? I feel like if you look at the style of play, Richarlison has to be Argentinian. He runs through the wall. If there's a wall there, he doesn't go past the wall. He runs straight through it. Argentinian mentality. Enzo, we want to It's like,
Is he Argentinian? Is that one Argentina
That's
as well?
one
Because
Argentina
it's
for
the same
sure.
thing.
Lando, he's
Lando.
Argentinian.
Yeah,
he's a
rough
pit
ass
bull.
nigga.
He's got the
Rough.
everything.
Relax.
He's a fight. No, relax.
Chill.
Samba.
Yeah, boo.
Yo,
First
I grew up on Yoga Bonito.
Yeah.
You know.
If you can't dance, you can't play.
Hey,
I grew up on Yoga Bonito. I don't know these guys.
John Feio.
So So on that
Uh-huh.
point, like you're saying, like it's crazy how we know these things and we every week. It's good to have another a fresh perspective to be like, oh, you guys are actually right on something.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Going on to just in general, like European football, right? What do you think the issue is nowadays with the Brazilian players failing to bridge the gap in some leagues? England, I mean, our best Brazilian is Bobby Firmino.
Mm.
And that's not the best Brazilian to play in Europe by any stretch of the imagination. Why in England the Brazilians are still, most Brazilians are struggling. Centre backs do well, depending on the position. But the forwards, the ones that we want to come see light of the Premier League, why aren't they doing as well as we think they could be doing? What do you guys think?
I'm trying to understand entirely the question. So you're asking why you're not
So-
seeing as much
So I don't see as much
Brazilians-
as Brazilian. You know, in Spain,
Yeah.
when you have Vinicius go to Spain,
Yeah.
he becomes similar
the
to the
face of the
Vinicius.
league.
Yeah.
The face of the league.
Yeah.
Neymar,
Why
all
in
of this.
England don't we get the Viniciuses or the Kakas or the Ronaldinho?
And we get Richarlison.
We get Richarlison in England. We don't get.
Come on.
We don't get the players
Help.
that we need. You know, Hulk could have played there. Like you talked about Hulk. I thought Hulk could have come to Chelsea. And
But
done a lot
Oscar,
of
though.
things.
Yeah.
Oscar play. That was good.
Oscar was another talent. It was special.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like we do get, but hey, yeah, you're right. I hear.
9 times out of 10 we get Murillo.
And
Can I just maybe
Yeah.
try to bring my opinion here?
Mm.
Yeah.
I think it has to do a lot about obviously the style of the league of play.
yeah.
Mm.
And based on a certain style, you're gonna require a lot more of a physical aspect than the technical aspect.
Yeah.
Even though Vinicius, for example, in my opinion, he got both. He
Mm.
does have the physicality. He can endure. He can run with high intensity all games, and he got the skills. But they design a style of play in that league that they appreciate that kind of play on the sides.
Mm.
Um, in the English football, you have a very traditional way of playing, and it's a lot about a central
Focal
player, a
point.
forward player.
Yeah,
Mm.
focal point.
Striker.
Yes, and with that, if you look in the recent Brazilian football history, we haven't
don't have
had.
them.
I think the last number 9 we had, it was Adriano.
Yes, proper one.
And
Proper
before him
No
was
neck.
Ronaldo.
Infamous.
yeah,
We'll get
Before
there.
him
We'll
was
get to
Ronaldo.
those guys.
was the was
No, but
Ronaldo.
Adriano. Also, as much
so-
as he was a
No,
technical.
yes.
Ah.
But that's what I mean. We don't have. We've been like even now. If your question initially was about Ancelotti in Brazil,
Yes, yes.
Ancelotti will have to adapt or adjust to the players he has available.
Mm.
We in Brazil we like also we had very successful nines, Ronaldo, Adriano, Romario, and the list is long of nines that did well.
Yeah.
But we have been lacking that specific nine.
We spoke about it earlier.
In
You
the
had
development,
Fred.
in the formation of Brazil.
Jesus is better than Fred. Fred. Do you know what I hate about Fred? There's nothing to add in the build-up.
Nice.
When you pass to Fred, we lose the ball. We can only pass to Fred in the box. When I realized that, he killed Brazil's whole game. Fred.
But because of like this like forming of players and specifically that style that he has successfully worked, like Wahala came in like a glove into the league.
Yeah.
Because the style of play in the league and how the English players, supporters like to watch the game, it involves that kind of player, and they need that kind of player. And we haven't had a Brazilian player with that very similar characteristics and style that makes him become the face of the league. Like Haaland came and did.
We
I
haven't
think
had that yet. We
no. So it has to do a little bit of the style, the factory, the Brazil factory of developing player of style doesn't usually have
England in mind.
and we haven't had, not that we don't have, but we haven't had that specific
Superstar in England. I
of
think
that
Andre
positions in the
Santos, I think Santos has the physical capability. When I watch him play and dominate physically in midfield, I think now in England, with England going back to smaller going towards more technical midfielders, someone like Andre Santos says both is going to be. Oh, Lavia. I think Lavia. I don't know if you watch Chelsea, but Lavia is one of those players where I think, there's other midfielders
And
there's
then there's
Lavia.
Lavia.
I tell him all the time,
He's
but
just different.
the injuries and all, people, okay, I get it.
Yeah.
But there's a quality of a player. You say, he's never going to lose the ball for us. And I think Andre is the same. And how do you guys, you see, always Esteval,
Clash.
Andre, there's always the next guys. There's always the next guys. Even, we're talking about these guys now. You guys probably know the next of the next guys. And I think that's the culture in Brazil. Like, oh, you're talking about Esteval. We've got this other kid now. And that's the thing that we need to.
Yeah, we
Because
always
in
have
South Africa
one.
we have Mufukeng.
Yeah.
And now God, but it's not the same level in the similar age. We don't have the next one. Mufukeng's going to dominate the league. But Esteval's going to leave now. Next year we're going to be talking about somebody else in Brazil.
Yeah, it's already a voice that you're
Already.
You see what I mean? So,
The next Ronaldinho.
but the league, can you explain the league situation?
Let's
people
go to
don't know.
quiz, bro.
How the league works?
Clash Labo.
the league in Brazil.
Yeah.
Which league? Because we have a lot of leagues on that side. Like
No, that's what I'm saying.
how
does it work?
I think let's say like I said the hours that we have there, it's way more. But I think one thing that we need to, that we trying to to implement here in South Africa, it's the futsal, right?
Yeah.
Because we all grow from futsal. We all
Mm.
came from futsal. We all born in futsal. You know what I mean? The football come from futsal. You have futsal courts at school. You have a public futsal court around yourself, around your house. You know what I mean? So we start with that. Um, and here it's different. Of course, they start already inside the soccer field.
You live on the side.
11 aside. You jump, and in Brazil, if you look, Ronaldinho, Robinho, Neymar, any player there comes
Was a
from
superstar
futsal.
from futsal.
From futsal.
It's harder to identify a player that have done well globally
Mm.
from Brazil that have done well
That
globally
didn't do
that
futsal.
didn't do a futsal.
Oh.
I can't name a player that
So-
have done well there that didn't do that in
In
the
the development.
in the
Yeah.
developing phase.
So
yeah.
our step there is futsal, 7 aside, 11 aside.
Oh.
That's how it works. Yeah. So
Yeah, if you want to talk just about like roots of development and the formula that have worked really well in Brazil, that it can be mimic
Mm.
in other countries, and especially South Africa, that is up developing in the football
yes,
sector.
Yeah.
There's so much you should be implementing, considering, for example, the PSL league. That should be the prestige. That way,
Mm.
everybody
Where
are born.
stop
That's where I want to be.
Yeah,
Watch one.
yes,
They
man.
don't
Yes,
formulate
yes.
the in my opinion, the league to be that attracting point, the
Yeah.
end goal, right? And that's a thing in Brazil.
Mm.
In Brazil, that's all we want to do and be. So
I think it's touching
right,
on
yeah.
what.
We can have a
Okay,
long
let's go to the game.
conversation on this another
Let's
time.
go to the game.
yeah. No.
Before, so the game is winner stays on.
Okay.
Okay, but we Seleção.
Okay.
Mm. Straight.
What does Seleção mean? By the way, I don't call Brazil national team because they say I got taught it's the Seleção. It means something. It's like
I don't know.
Bafana Bafana. You're not playing
Yeah.
for South Africa.
play
You play for
Brazil.
Bafana. You want to make your Bafana debut. You don't want to make your debut for South Africa. It means more.
No.
You know what I mean? Because the country has politics, but the Seleção will be the Seleção.
Mm.
The Bafana Bafana will be one. The country can be run by whatever, but you always want to play for the Seleção or Bafana Bafana.
You're right.
So, tell us about, before you get into it, the Seleção. If you get called up even once, how does it change people's lives in Brazil?
Bro, I think that's where you want to stop. That's where you wanna. That's your goal, to play for your country, to play for the Seleção, let's say. So you as a young kid, like I said, if you go to a 5 years old, 6 years old, and ask what do you want to be when you grow up, he's gonna say I want to be a professional player. Okay, for which club? He's gonna tell you
Doesn't matter.
top teams, but he's gonna come back. But I want to
And-
play for Brazil.
and-
Brazil.
Yeah, I want to play for the Seleção. So that's your
identity.
main. Yeah, it's your main goal.
It has become identity element.
Mm,
It has become a bit of a. It represents more than just the players and the team. It's identity. You represent your country, and it has a meaning behind. That's why we call it Seleção, not the Brazil first team. We never say, the Brazil first team is playing. No, it's the identity, that cultural element that brings into that obviously that word represents all that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So that word means prestige. What does it mean? In direct translation. Seleção.
Selection.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
the selected
selected
side.
side.
Selected
yeah.
ones.
Okay,
Yeah.
the
The
chosen
chosen
ones.
The chosen
In a
ones.
way, yeah.
Okay, so winner stays on. Okay, I'm gonna try to make it. How do I make it for both of them? Let's do one for Chico. Okay.
Yeah, just keep it moving.
So I'm gonna go 6 players, right?
Uh-huh.
I'm gonna name 2 players first,
Uh-huh.
and then whoever's the greatest to you will stay on until we have the winner that stayed on.
Okay.
Okay? No changing. Whoever I put against whoever is whoever.
Guys, don't kill me. I'll break all this thing. Yeah.
All love, gents.
Okay, so we'll go Dunga, Rivellino.
Yo, I didn't watch much Tunga, and of course Rivelina was really
Even worse.
young. Yeah, but looking at history, I will go Rivelino.
Rivellino.
Yeah.
Rivellino or Garincha?
Yes. Same thing.
I
Like
know,
old
but
players.
Garincha.
Of course, I have highlights of them on YouTube and stuff like that. That you search and you hear about your grandfather, your father.
Your
talking
father
about
talking about them.
Garincha.
Okay.
Also because of the legs and everything.
Yeah, Garincha. Oh.
Of course, guys.
Yeah, I know it's of course. It's an of course one, but I needed to put it out there.
Garincha.
Kaka or Garincha?
Okay.
This is hard because they're very different
Exactly.
players.
Yeah,
Positions,
It's all
position.
time.
It's all time.
So
Who
you
meant-
you
Who meant something more to you?
all right.
It's
More
not
to me.
about the best player.
Okay. Cool.
Okay.
Now
More
me-
to me now that I saw playing, I would say Kaká, but if you go history-wise, playing-wise, Garincha is on top.
So
you know what I
you're
mean?
keeping Kaka.
Now we'll keep Garincha.
Garincha
Last time.
or Robinho.
Hey, come on, there, Robinho. I'm a fan of Robinho, so I will go Robinho.
Robinho.
Robinho or Ronaldinho Gaúcho.
Ronaldinho Gaúcho. That's the top one, guys. Come on, we don't compare.
Now we okay. Carry on all the other
If you
questions.
say
I know
yeah,
the answer
Last
now.
one, last one.
Wait,
Ronaldinho Gaúcho.
before you say that. Ronaldinho Gaúcho is the winner.
All the other questions are
Who we have there?
relevant now.
Oh, so you Ronaldinho
he's the
Gaúcho
greatest, isn't
or Pelé.
Nah, bro, come on.
Now,
Nah, bro.
the goat versus
I
the
want to hear.
goat.
What are you saying?
Gaúcho, no,
Kelvin.
I'll
Oh,
give
you're
Kelvin
getting
his
to
own. I'll give him his own.
Listen.
Bro.
Out of respect of Pelé, rest in peace. Did everything for Brazil, but
But there's a big but.
Ronaldinho Gaúcho. Ronaldinho
bro,
Gaúcho.
come
guys.
on. No
Calvin,
question.
let's go. Calvin, I'm going to ask you different type of players.
Mm.
We know Chico likes to be showboating, so I gave him all those guys. You know, I'm going to give you technical guys. Smart guys. Right? We go. Cafu or Zilberto? I see it. I'm doing that.
Cafu.
Cafu.
Nice.
Cafu or Lucio?
I love Lucio.
I know, man. You look like a guy like
I love Lucio because he's a dead killer. That
Yes,
guy.
he does what needs
Look
to be
at
done.
his CV.
Yes.
Achievements. Incredible.
Yeah.
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 Cafu.
You still
Cafu.
go over Cafu.
Cafu.
I
He
thought-
raised the trophy. He was
I
our
thought
captain
you-
raising
Yeah,
the
yeah,
trophy.
I
Our
thought
lost
I took you
trophy.
up with
Our last World Cup, he was the one raising it. So
Okay.
you gotta respect the man. Cafu.
Okay. El Fenomeno.
Cafu and Fenomeno.
Yeah.
Fenomeno.
Phenomenal. I think after asking Fenomeno, it should be Fenomeno of everyone, but we'll try.
Mm.
Fenomeno Zico.
If you ask my dad, you say Zico.
Zico.
But if you ask me, Ronaldo, Fenomeno.
Ronaldo. Okay. I'm gonna try to go a bit different. You spoke about what they achieved.
Mm.
Keep the same energy.
Mm.
Ronaldo or Dani Alves. You spoke about achievements. Now I'm putting achievements right in the front center. Not what they achieved for Brazil,
Yeah,
but
but
achievements
as a player.
as a player.
Still Ronaldo.
Why?
Still Ronaldo.
I don't think beats Ronaldo. I'll try one more. Jarzinho.
Jairzinho.
Jairzinho.
Nah, I know very little of Jairzinho. Ronaldo.
Okay.
But it was a
Ronaldo still
Yeah,
wins.
but Ronaldo,
People
yeah.
talk about Jairzinho. You know, the older guys talk about it
There's-
like, hey, this guy's a god.
There's only one name you're gonna make me change.
Ronaldinho.
Ronaldinho.
Gaúcho, bruh.
Only one.
Ronaldinho.
Against Ronaldo.
I gave you Ronaldo. For me, Ronaldo. This guy, that guy, your friend, had the cut.
They're going.
Had the cut. What cut did you have? 2002. He had the cut. All the way in South Africa. Ronaldo had the
Really?
cut. Ronaldo. Gaucho, we know. Ronaldinho is the guy who made us fall in love with football.
Okay,
Yeah.
no.
You know?
For me,
But-
the only player above Ronaldo in the recent football is Ronaldinho. That's the only name you would
You
make
can
me
call.
change my
I
opinion
didn't
on
put Neymar
Ronaldo.
in because I know Brazilians don't think of Neymar as highly as us.
No, you know it's good. No,
Nah.
it's good, but
All-time scorer.
if you have to
Yeah.
put him in on the table.
All
Ronaldo
these
is
other
there,
people,
yeah.
nah, it's a bit much.
Yeah.
What do
Yo.
Are we done?
Yeah, that's it. Thank you guys. Yo, episode 28. We did it again. We will be back next week with another one. Hey, kinda tired though, but hey, you gotta keep pushing.
Good times. Don't come next week.
Keep liking, keep sharing, keep
You mustn't
subscribing.
come.
We're gonna
Aye.
put the names
We
down here.
pushing now.
You know, we thank Kelvin for coming and we thank Uchiko for pulling up
Thank
to the
you,
studio
thank you,
today.
thank you to
Thank you
inviting
guys
us.
for pulling up. My name is Chuma, I'm with my brother here.
I go by the name of Chinga Time. This is the Playground Chat.
The best sports cast in the land.
Thank you so much, Gents, for coming in.
Thank you, guys.
Calvin, I think maybe we need to talk about you being a director of football somehow, somewhere for my club. Telling me what's good enough, what I need to change, the methodology, just as an advisor. Chico's gonna come and play for Langa United. You heard it here first. He
New
said,
sign, the new sign.
Yeah, you
Breaking
signed it.
news,
You
breaking
said so.
news.
Signing.
You signed it.
Breaking news. Luthando, you out.
Breaking
Sorry, they
news.
needed one more spot. You out.
Nah.
You had to go.
He's the agent. He's the agent.
I mean.
He's in. Thanks a lot, guys. I'm really appreciated. Thank you for taking all of our nonsense and just going with it. We are nonsensical, but we also are sense.
They sense onto the word.
They
Yeah.
sense out to the
Yeah, yeah.
And thanks for coming. Invite your friends when we need somebody. You know, tell them, no, got a guys. You know, we're great at this. Anything you guys need, hit us up. We always willing to come and watch kids play. Want recording of your kids, individual things. Hit
So
us up.
listen, our next
We'll give it
tournament,
back.
I want you guys there.
Yeah, we'll
we
record.
did,
We'll go there.
yeah, we
we'll
did.
visit.
And if the people like us, we can come back.
Yeah, no, we love you.
Why
We
not?
come back, we come
Yes,
We've got
bro.
so much more
Yes.
inside.
You
I
have
think
more to
I
share.
want to do a tactical segment where it's not a fun.
Yeah.
We're talking about like
Football and
trends
stuff.
football. And I think Kelvin is going to be the host of
He's gonna win. He's
Found
gonna
the
win.
host.
Final question.
You found
I'm stealing your spot now. Final question.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who's winning tonight?
You wait for Champions
The
League.
final. This guy.
How are we forgetting that?
We can't forget it.
What is your score predictions?
Score prediction.
Go,
Nah,
Kelvin,
let's
go.
go. Let's go around.
You go
Me
first.
first.
I'm on the
PSG.
fence.
Look, I think it's gonna be an interesting game. I think everyone has their money on PSG. I watch Inter Milan against Barcelona. They quite good defensively.
I had Inter as well. but not
PSG,
anymore.
for me, as I've spoken to Lon a lot of this. I'm not a coach, but I feel like PSG don't have the end goal. You know, everyone is running around. We're playing the ball. We're playing the football. It's just like the finishing is not there.
I
feel like Inter.
He killed me for saying
on.
Enrique is better organized than Flick. He thought I'm being an asshole for saying
So, like for me, I think if Inter snatch one goal, it's gonna be tough for PSG to work
Yeah,
on that.
with the
But
natural finisher.
I'd say just for Ballon d'Or interesting sakes, I'll go PSG 2-1 against Inter Milan. But I think it's gonna be a very interesting game.
2-1.
2-1,
Okay.
yeah.
I will go 2-1 Inter.
Oh,
Why?
Because Inter have way more power, more
Physical,
hunger
yeah.
to win than PSG. So I think Inter also have more like champions hunger. Let's say the guys that already had the taste of the final of the
City.
winning.
Yes, they
So
lost.
they will put their heart inside of that
Mm.
field. So I will put 2-1 Inter.
okay.
Calvin?
Two different teams.
Yeah,
Right?
very different
Completely.
teams.
PSG is a lot more of the offensive,
Yeah.
the creativity up front, and the attacking ideas. And Inter is the opposite, solid
Transition.
defensive,
Transition.
base, and then obviously
Yeah, live in the
Vertical.
transition. Dumfries and DeMarco.
I think the first 15 minutes of the game is gonna say a lot, because if PSG scores early, then I think it's a 2-1 PSG. But if
Inter
Inter,
score
if PSG doesn't score any time in the beginning,
But you can
then,
only choose
then I
one.
think it's a Inter win. but
You can only choose one.
I think it's 1-0 to Inter.
I know. Oh, okay.
I also went to Inter for the longest time, but they lost the Scudetto so stupidly to Napoli. Napoli are the champions in Italy, and they took it away in this moment where Inter are being champions and going to the Champions League.
The head is on the
They had
champions.
this already. So that's my problem. I cannot go for a team that I can see psychologically is not there. They're not psychologically there. They're gonna get taken to school. So I'm putting 1,000 rand on
Enrique
PSG.
Ball.
PSG.
PSG.
Yeah.
What?
I will keep
Episode
Prediction 3-1.
3.
I think Inter scores first. right? And then they sit back early, like I think they did against
Barcelona.
We're gonna
against
park the
Barca.
bus. We
If
park
they
the bus.
sit, if you sit back early, you give me ideas to think, Enrique ideas to think. Can't give a coach that has got so many tools in the box and opportunities to use them all.
We're coming back to speak about Inter and PSG.
Oh, we coming back.
He collected 1,000, yeah.
Yeah.
Nah, I'm gonna win money today. I'm
Hey.
winning money. Kelvin,
Thank you guys. Thank you.
Look to the sky, cause the stars gonna guide me. I got the fire that's burning
Appreciate it.
inside of me. Hot nigga, I make the colonel stop hollering.
the best sportscast in the land.
Tag. That's the tag.
Corny, Luthando Ntshinga, and I make a horny. Fuck that, I'm going hard, wanting glory. Niggas I know to be on them, look on us. Plotting and scheming, they ask for the born thing. Kakling cheese, I okabuli corny. Yeah, I told the baddies I got it. Bougie as fuck, yeah, wanna got it. She check the drip, yeah, cancel I got it. Ball main dress shirt, vintage designer. Poorly, I need my bang. Been in this bitch, yeah, angazuam. I act the ass, yeah, Kalezuham. We pray to Allah, know they bring wahala. Smakala Muslim, mochi like kanala. She pray for